every year since the pandemic, I've said, wow, this was a weird year for pop music, but wow, this was a weird goddamn year for music. Music constantly surprises you, but I did not expect a year where hip-hop would be struggling to chart, and meanwhile regional Mexican music would be kicking its ass. A year where country music would take over the charts while drowning in controversy. That shouldn't be able to happen, but the number ones this year were mostly trash. Does that make this the worst year for music ever? No, but it's probably the least year for music ever. And there's like data for that. The bar for getting a number one hit has never been lower. The last new number one from this year was some Jack Harlow song that you have never heard of, you don't know it, you'll probably never know it, and you'll have lost nothing from your life for not knowing it. Also, this year was dominated by not only backwards looking traditional genres like country and regional Mexican, but also just straight up old songs. Songs from even more than a decade ago. 2023 had no interest in 2023. Does anyone even care about music anymore? You know what I'm really into right now? Silence. Oh man. Thought Silence couldn't possibly top that third album, but it's really gone above and beyond this year. No music has never been less not music than this. But unfortunately, this is the life I chose, and unless you find me another serial fraud on YouTube to fact check, I'm kind of stuck doing this, so let us dismiss this bizarre year and hope for better the next. We're counting down!
This is why I don't leave the house.
The top 10 worst hit songs of 2023. Number 10.
For those who don't know, my name is Travis fucking Scott.
Woo, yay, woo. Look, Travis Scott bores me to fucking tears.
I get those goosebumps every time.
Yes, he has a couple songs I like, but like, who is Travis Scott? Who is he as a person that has made him such a big deal? Why is he on a Happy Meal? Why are fans still risking life and limb to see him in concert? I just do not get it. Even when I like his songs, he seems like just a blank void in the middle of it. You know, Travis Scott's not even his real name. He went to go pick out his cool rap name, and it's just a regular name. I don't know why, but that bothers me so much. I thought my frustration with his void of personality was just a me thing, you know, old man Todd, not getting it again. So it's been gratifying to see this become a pretty common opinion, even among people who like him. His defenders are like, well, you know, maybe his rapping is boring, but his beats are always so good. Versus critics who are like, well, maybe the beats are good, but his rapping's so fucking boring. Everyone seems to be in agreement on the pros and cons here. I would argue that his beats used to be way better also. For example.
Swish.
Travis Scott's latest album, Utopia, was decently successful, but its lead single, K-pop, flopped pretty hard. It's called K-pop, but it's not K-pop. It's a reference to doing ketamine.
No, I'm high off the K-pop.
And it only comes up once. Honestly, it strikes me more like search term optimization than anything. Like you're trying to trick BTS fans into clicking. Like the people who put out songs called Today's Wordle.
You full off one sip.
Anyway, this is my Travis Scott entry on this list because it was the safest pick. Even fans didn't seem to like this one. Honestly, I don't really see that much difference between this and the rest of the album. It may even be one of the better ones on it since it has the least amount of Travis Scott on it. He does about 30 seconds of what is barely a verse and then gets the fuck out of the way so that people with personality can take the mic. And you know what? Last time I had to talk about Travis Scott, I mentioned how some critics compared him to DJ Khaled, you know, just a guy whose only job it is to recruit more interesting people into his orbit. I didn't think that was fair. Travis Scott does at least still write and rap. But thinking about it more, I think that's actually unfair to Khaled. At least when DJ Khaled says something, I notice.
DJ Khaled.
DJ Khaled has said like 5 words in his life, but I remember every one of them. It's not like anyone else covers themselves in glory either. There's no hook, no particularly clever lines, a weak beat. The problem with Travis Scott isn't just that he's a boring rapper, he's a boring person. I listened to all his records, I even watched his stupid documentary. I have no idea who the fuck he is. I don't get it. I did like Sicko Mode though. I mean, maybe you should try that again. Just keep switching beats till something interesting happens. I'm sorry, I just get frustrated. Why do I have to know about this guy?
This is why I don't leave the house.
Number 9. One of the big questions coming into this year was, could the biggest breakout star of the 2020s keep up the momentum?
I met a guy in the summer and I left him in the spring.
And, yeah, I'd say she did, for the most part. Wasn't quite the event that her first album was, but I thought it was a lot better, honestly. I was only warm on Olivia before. I thought Sour was mostly 7s and a couple 8s, but the second album was so good. I think I could make the case that it's the best pop album of the year. I could try at least. Just have to ignore the biggest hit from it.
I hate to give the satisfaction asking how you're doing now. How's the castle built off people?
I guess this is my hottest take of the list. I couldn't justify putting it any higher considering some of the shit I got coming up, but wow, I did not like this. In fact, I thought this song was going to be a humongous flop because I thought it was just a disaster. Her worst song and her first bad song. Structurally, it's a mess. It takes forever to get going. No part works with any other part. The chorus dies right when it's starting to build up, and the lyrics are so bad. They are so bad. Is this guy a vampire or a car thief, Olivia?
Bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire.
I think she thinks bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire is some kind of killer line, but she puts absolutely nothing behind it. And she builds it up with lines like this.
I've made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst one look fine.
I made some real bad mistakes, but you're so bad, you make the worst ones look fine. Told him. I guess it makes sense that since her first hit was a melodramatic breakup song, she should try to launch the second album the same way, but man, this just doesn't hit the same. I thought the lyrics on the first one were occasionally clumsy, but this makes the worst of them look, well, fine. You know, I wondered why the F-bomb and driver's license shocked me so much.
'Cause I still fucking love you.
But I listened to this and now I realize it's because she's bad at it.
Sucker, fame fucker.
She's bad at cursing. She sounds like she's 12. Fame fucker?
Fame fucker.
Also, you know there's a word for that already, right? A better one? But I think more than anything, my problem is that this guy, this supposed vampire, he doesn't seem that important. You compare Vampire to Lord's Green Light, or Billie Eilish's Happier Than Ever, or her own driver's license, and they all hit so much harder because the pain is so raw. Like driver's license, yeah, that's your first breakup. This is just a bad rebound.
You said it was true love, but wouldn't that be hard?
Like, I'm sure it wasn't fun, but you don't sound heartbroken and you don't sound abused. You just dated a douchebag for a few months. It sounds like she's trying to wring an all too well out of a situation that only deserves "we are never getting back together." What did this guy do to earn a song from one of the world's biggest pop stars? Don't give him that.
Bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire.
I'm sorry, I really did not like this. Also, does anyone know what the hell's going on in this music video?
This is why I don't leave the house.
Number 8.
I feel no need to appease anybody.
As 2023 came to a close, Drake did something he has almost never had to do: concede defeat.
Welcome to the Eras Tour.
For the past 5 years or more, it was neck and neck between Taylor Swift and Drake as the biggest pop star of this generation. And this year it became clear that Taylor Swift had pulled decisively ahead, a fact that Drake actually acknowledged on record.
Taylor Swift, the only nigga that I ever rated. Only one could make me drop the album just a little later.
Yes, he actually called Taylor Swift the N-word. Big year for her. But while Drake can no longer claim to be number 1, he's correct that he has no challengers for number 2. You can ask him about his success, he'll tell you. He's got more hits than the Beatles. He's gonna reach the level of Michael Jackson.
One away from Michael, nigga, beat it, nigga, beat it.
He did reach Michael Jackson. He has achieved things in music that we may never see topped. And as recently as 2 years ago, I might have been able to say I still understood. But at the end of 2023, why?
Hey, yeah, I need someone to be patient with me. Someone to get money with, not take it from me. They don't even need to be as famous as me.
Drake has been treading water since at least 2018. All his projects have sounded exactly the same, except for that one no one liked. Anyway, he started this year with Search and Rescue, which has to count as one of his worst. The only charge at all is that it samples Kim Kardashian.
I didn't come this far just to come this far and not be happy.
Okay.
Remember that.
You didn't come this far just to come this far.
Yep.
And I guess it kind of implies that he's gonna fuck and or marry Kanye's ex, so I guess that Kanye-Drake feud is back on. As if I could care. Yeah, let's say that in the Kanye story, a pissing contest with Drake seems a little trivial right now. That's the closest thing it has to a hook or a gimmick. Otherwise, he just sings about wanting a woman to come rescue him so he can settle down, I guess.
Don't know how to express my love. That's why American Express.
Also, why is this song mixed like that? Why does he sound like the RoboCop version of himself? It's not just that his shtick has gotten old, it's gotten worse. This has got to be the worst hook he's ever had.
Deep down, I think about you all day, mommy. I know I'm a pit bull, but darling, mommy.
You get that man's name out of your mouth, you son of a bitch. You're not Pitbull. Pitbull's fun to listen to. And if you mean you're a pitbull like a dangerous animal, you're definitely not that either. It's funny, Pitbull was never considered a great lyricist, but he never wrote a line that bad. It's a painful forced reference, and it's not even constructed correctly. Like, what does the but mean in that sentence? I know Drake has always been corny, but it feels like we've passed the event horizon. It reminds me of when Eminem started making dad jokes all the time. It's just a really bad omen. But more importantly, Drake has been moaning since he started about being too trapped in the baller lifestyle to find a good woman, and he used to sound a lot more sincere about it. Who could possibly believe he's long-term relationship material at this point? He's gonna just become DiCaprio. He's gonna become a weird old guy plowing through models half his age for the rest of his life. Didn't this guy used to have like real singles? What happened to the guy who wrote Nice for What? Energy, Forever, Laugh Now, Cry Later? I'd accept a Tootsie Slide at this point. You can't fake being sad and lonely anymore, Drake. No one buys it. I miss Pitbull so much.
This is why I don't leave the house.
Number 7.
Take me to church, I worship like a dog.
A few years ago, I put Take Me to Church by Hozier, a song most people seem to like, on one of my worst lists. I got a little flack for it, but I don't know, the sex as religion metaphor, the tone, I just thought it was overwrought and pretentious and no fun to listen to. But people made a case for that song to me, you know, and I do get at least that it's subversive, a song that sounds heavy as Catholic Mass, but it's about fucking, and it's basically anti-church, with a video criticizing the church's oppression. I'm never gonna like the song, but I respect it, I guess. So if you said to me, hey Todd, what if you heard a song that sounded exactly like this, but all the churchiness was played 100% straight? What would you think of that? Well, let's find out.
Telling myself I won't go there. Oh, but I know that I won't care.
This is Daylight by David Kushner, yet another example of TikTok fucking it up once again, launching an obscure singer who doesn't need to be famous into the limelight. Now, I don't know if David Kushner labels himself a Christian singer exactly, but he is apparently a pretty religious guy, and he wrote this song about being tortured by temptation and sin, off of his own label, Miserable Music. Buddy, you said it.
There's darkness in the distance.
Now, Take Me to Church is very easily the model he's working off of. He even has the same producer, but instead of being ironic, he means the Christian guilt aspect of it very straight. Now, I have sought out what he said about it, and he doesn't really have much to say beyond the surface.
Telling yourself you won't go there, it's just that darkness that can inherit in your life if you give into certain things. And
so I don't know what darkness he's tempted by. It could be anywhere from, oh, I sipped a light beer once, to I should be in jail forever. Who knows? But if I had to guess, I'd say the temptation is nothing.
From the daylight, running from the daylight.
You know, that's just a guess. He could reveal his crippling addiction to gay heroin tomorrow, but it sounds like a sheltered kid imagining what guilty vice-seeking feels like. The thing about temptation is that it's enjoyable.
But I know I can't resist it.
If temptation felt like this song sounds, no one would do it. It's kind of the other side of the coin of Sam Smith's Unholy, in that it has the gothic choir and it's nowhere near as sinful as it thinks it is, but at least Unholy gets the appeal. By being naughty, it actually sounds way guiltier.
Begging for forgiveness.
I will say, maybe if I had more of a church background, then I'd understand where this song comes from. I will say that maybe I don't have religious guilt, but I do get shame. I've had some regretful morning afters and some weak afternoon befores, and I still just don't connect with this song at all. But that's all beside the point. The more important thing is that it just sucks to listen to. Moon, darkness, daylight. Grow up. Number 6.
Bury me in Georgia.
Last year I had to apologize for how much country music I had on the best list, because I know a lot of you aren't into that. Maybe I was onto something, because country music exploded afterwards. Like, it was all I ended up talking about this year. Like, a full third of the year-end Hot 100 is country music. So I have to apologize again for talking about it so much. Fortunately, this year I think it's all going to be on the worst list, which is always a little less embarrassing for me. Anyway, the country music that got the most attention this year was, one, the really crossover heavy pop stuff, and on the other end, the more authentic red dirt roots country. But in between, there's a wide array of stuff in the middle that isn't modern or authentic. It's traditionally minded, but also so polished it's sterile. I'm gonna give you the worst one.
Find you a girl on a Friday night.
I miss bro country. Congratulations, universe. You win. Anyway, this is Dylan Scott, and he is... Actually, I don't know who he is, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. He's an indistinguishable white guy, except that he has the worst hair and worst beard in music. Anyway, the fact that bro country is basically dead doesn't mean the bros are gone. They've just settled down, which means they're not even partying anymore. They've just become mature, which means they feel free to lecture you with their wisdom. Yeah, there's a lot of these country songs out there where they try to advise you how to find happiness.
Buy dirt, find the one you can't live without. Get a ring, let your knee hit the ground.
Buy a house and raise a family? Gee, thanks, I didn't think of that. I was just gonna smoke crack. Anyway, Dylan Scott has some advice too. Find you a girl, and specifically a girl who's basically all the positive things.
Find you a girl that leaves you speechless. Gets wild on the town, but still loves Jesus.
She's hot. She's fun. She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, and America too.
Find you a girl that likes to do all the things you love to do.
Find you a girl who cooks, likes all your friends. She doesn't nag you about watching sports all the time. Will only get hotter as you get dumpy and old.
Find you a girl that's like fine wine that just gets better with age.
This is not a real woman. This is the photo of a woman that came with the picture frame. It's a fantasy. It's porn that isn't hot. But if this were just condescending, that'd be one thing, but we gotta get to the punchline. What is the cherry on top of this shovel full of horse shit?
Yeah, take it from me, that's the kind you need to find. You just can't have mine.
Fuck you.
Thank God she loves me.
You ever see someone do a humble brag and forget the humble? That's kind of what this feels like. Like, this has got to be one of the worst of this kind of song. It's too sappy to be any fun, but it's too smug to be heartwarming. You know what? I'm gonna be straight with you, Dylan Scott. Your girl sounds boring. Here's my advice. Find yourself a fucking freak who's a complete and total disaster and ruins your life. Live la vida loca, baby. Sounds way better than this. What the hell is that face? Anyway, next.
This is why I don't leave the house.
Number 5. Look, some people just aren't meant to be famous.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
Oliver Anthony Music, is a proud hillbilly who shot a quick video this summer of a song he wrote, watch it randomly go viral and become a #1 hit off the support of angry conservatives, and has been nervously backing away from his own success ever since. You know, I feel for the guy. I also became successful off of really half-baked takes that should never have seen the light of day, so I get it.
The #1 song on the Billboard chart is called Rich Men North of Richmond.
Anyway, Republican politicians quickly co-opted it, which Mr. Anthony Music has completely disavowed, a fact that earned him some grace from the lefties of country music like Jason Isbell and Maren Morris, who don't seem comfortable with it, but at least are giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I love that he was just like, no, this wasn't for you.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's kind of badass, but yeah, a lot of problematic stuff with that verse.
I tried to do that too. I don't think the guy's a complete piece of shit or anything, and the song starts promisingly enough about how hard it is to make $1 these days in the face of the rich and powerful keeping you down.
These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control.
And I tried to get with that, you know, fight the power, but There were unpleasant vibes coming off of this even before he makes clear which side he's on in the second verse.
We got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare.
No matter how many times I hear that line, it just gets uglier every single time.
But if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young
I already made a video about this, but I'll say it again. I thought you were angry at the rich men, not fat people on food stamps. Did you forget the title of your own song? And he says it with so much hate.
taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds.
There's just no way to hear a line like that and then hear him say, well, the rich men want to control what you think and what you do, and not think he means like accepting people's pronouns. And when I said this before, the song's fans gave me shit for it on every platform I had.
It references the inefficiencies of the government because of the politicians within it that are engulfed in bribes and extortion. And
like, oh, you're putting words in his mouth. He explained what he meant. You're taking it wrong. Well, you know, I do try to be fair, so in the interest of having a respectful dialogue, I would ask in response, are you fucking stupid? Do you not know what words mean? Yes, I listened to his careful and, quite frankly, stage-managed sounding explanation about how he was just criticizing government waste, and it only makes sense if you did not listen to the goddamn song. The obese milking welfare. There's not a second way you can take that. And my impression of Anthony Music being a dumb guy bellowing about shit he doesn't know a thing about did not improve after I had a lot more dumb guys bellowing at me on the internet. But even without the couple of lines blasting poor people, getting fat, and stealing money from the hard-working good people, you know, the good people, not like those people, you know the ones.
People like me, people like you.
Even without reading into the politics, it's still just an unpleasant listen. He speaks like he's just a beat-down little guy, but he clearly harbors pretensions about being a righteous mouthpiece for the downtrodden.
With an old soul.
He talks about having an old soul, but his ripped from the headlines complaints.
I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere.
Mark him as a very modern person, a podcast addict who absorbs too much garbage on the internet. Combine that with the painful over-singing, and he just comes off like the guy at the bus station telling you how the government puts mind control chemicals in the water. For the record, I do think the guy has potential. You know, rich men rhymes with Richmond, it's clever and all that, but he just needs to stay away from politics, which it seems like he is very happy to do. Poor guy. Wanted to be the voice of the people and then didn't like the people he was given a voice to. I think they had a better sense of what your song was about than you did, man. Sorry.
Overtime hours for bullshit pay.
This is why I don't leave the house.
Number 4.
I'm good, yeah, I'm feeling alright, baby.
I'm Good from last year is almost a miracle of bad music. I immediately put it at the top of the worst list last year, and yet I didn't really have any anger towards it.
I'm good, yeah, I'm feeling alright.
There's something so basic about it, it almost comes out the other side. It has the world's laziest interpolation, the most half-assed lyrics. There's something almost pure in its laziness. I honestly didn't think you could ever make a song this insipid again. And then this year, the exact same artist took his own lazy ripoff and lazily ripped it off.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt.
If it worked once, right? First we get back David Guetta, a DJ who I'm fairly certain doesn't actually do anything. Switch out BB Rexa with another completely anonymous blonde. That's Anne Marie, one of many fraudulent UK pop stars that my country has rightly rejected. And let's take another 90s dance song, in this case What Is Love by Hathaway, and again change the lyrics to be worse.
Want you for the dirty and clean when you're
Perfect. This baby's done. And can I tell you something? I have never, not once, heard What Is Love without doing the Roxbury head pop, but it didn't even occur to me once to do it for this song. My neck may as well be in a cast, it's so motionless. In fact, I almost think it's worse than I'm Good. At least I'm Good only ruined Blue Dabba Dee, which was already an obnoxious novelty song. What Is Love wasn't deep art either, but there was at least some power behind it. The only reason I didn't put this at number 1 also is because The Trick is duller the second time. It's too lazy to even be shocking anymore.
I walk it, I talk it, I live it.
Speaking of lazy samples, this is probably the last time you will ever hear of guest rapper Coi Leray, who looked like she had a chance to be the next Doja Cat and then released a whole album of lazy, obnoxious samples like this. Yeah, we're not doing this. This actually tanked so hard that I think female rappers were allowed to have a personality again afterwards. But again, I'm not angry. It's not offensive, it's just made by and for people who don't care. And a lot of people who don't care worked on this record. It has like a dozen writers listed, including, believe it or not, Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran has spent this entire year making a slow exit from pop stardom, which he no longer seems to enjoy. But he got one last paycheck before he left, and really, who could blame him? Get that one last little bit of savings to retire on for what had to have been 5 minutes of work. That's the dream. Good on you, Ed. Don't hurt me no more indeed. Go back to Paris already, Guetta. Christ. See, this is proof the French are lazy. Next.
What is love? This is why I don't leave the house.
Number 3. Instead of asking why Drake is still big, let's ask how he got that big to begin with.
But get it while you here, boy. Cause all that hype don't feel the same next year, boy.
Very few people have ever had Drake's level of fandom, and he commands that much loyalty because there really was something about the way he could shift between bravado and moody insecurity. More than anything, he painted a really compelling portrait of a frustrated guy who knew he was turning into a douchebag but didn't know what to do about it.
I don't think I'm conscious of making monsters out of the women I sponsor till it all goes bad.
The thing is, he finished that journey a long time ago. He's not turning into a douchebag anymore. He just is a douchebag.
You bitches really get carried away. Making mistakes, then you beg me to stay.
In September, Drake's newest single, Slime You Out, shot straight to the top of the charts, becoming his 12th #1 single. Which, to me, seems like it must be wrong, because streams don't count if you turn it off after the first 16 seconds, which is about as far as anyone should have gotten. Here, this was my experience listening to it the first time.
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with you girls. I feel like y'all don't need love. You need somebody who could micromanage you, you know what I'm saying? Tell you right from wrong, who's smart from who's a fool, which utensil to use for which food, like.
I don't know that a song has ever immediately pissed me off like this.
I got a schedule to attend to, though. I can't really.
Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Agree with him? No. Laugh? It's not funny. I certainly don't want to hear him out to see where he's coming from. It doesn't get any better.
It got me wigging on you like I'm arrogant. You got my mind in a terrible place. Whipped and changed you like American slave.
In case you need to know what that means, Genius.com helpfully explains that the transatlantic slave trade was the tragic institution that enslaved 10 million African people. And cars and jewelry are called whips and chains, so this is exactly like slavery. Thank you, Genius.com.
Lucky that I don't take back what was given.
I don't need to hear Drake being shitty to women. I just don't. Like, everything about the song is gross. The sentiment, the cover art, the visuals, the title.
I'm sliming you for them kid choices you made. Sliming you out, sliming you out.
Fortunately, he only repeats it a couple hundred times. I've heard a couple definitions of what slime you out is supposed to mean. General consensus is it means use for sex and toss aside, which is unpleasant. But also calling your song that hits about the same way as a diss track called I'm Gonna Diss You. Ooh.
I'ma fall back unless it's a tall her shit for a minute.
Also, Drake recruits SZA on this.
Slime me out, and slime me out.
I guess to make the song feel less one-sided, but it fails. It doesn't seem like she's firing back at him, Gautier style. It's more like she's talking about being in a similar situation. She's commiserating with him, really. I need someone to tell Drake directly to shut the fuck up. I know they have some kind of history, and she seems happy to work with him every time, but man, every time Drake is around SZA, I'm just like, get a job. Stay away from her. I understand that part of Drake's appeal is him being a dick. Like, I loved Marvin's Room, and it took a bit, but I made my peace with Hotline Bling, two of his shittiest as a human being songs. All I can say is it went down a lot easier when it was expressed with weakness, paranoia, jealousy. I get all of that. Here, the only emotion is entitlement and arrogance, but not in like a cool badass way, in the moaning, drowsy Drake kind of way.
January, you pretend to see life clearly.
One thing I can say for it, the song may suck, but at least it goes on for fucking ever. Like, there's a point where he goes through the entire calendar's worth of history with this girl he's sliming out.
July, that's when I found out July.
And it feels like it takes the entire year. It's brutal. In a world full of TikTok singles so short they barely even register as music, I have to admire Drake's bravery to make his worst song also his longest. Man, Taylor's not going to be dropping that top spot anytime soon. Number 2. I ultimately had to put Richmond North of Richmond on this list, but I felt bad about it. You know, maybe it's an act, but he at least seemed like a nobody who wasn't prepared to be scrutinized. He just seemed over his head. I felt bad for him. And if nothing else, listening to that song really revealed to me how much I did not like that other song. A month before Oliver Anthony hit the jackpot, a different conservative country song hit the top of the charts. That would be from country star Jason Aldean. Maybe you don't know him. He did that one with Kelly Clarkson. He did the one that goes, dirt road, dirt road, dirt road, dirt road. Yeah, that was him. And also a bunch of other songs I'm not fond of. Anyway, he was a big deal in the 2010s, but he was on his way out, and then everyone noticed how offensive this one song he released was and made a big stink about it, and Aldean rode the backlash all the way to the top of the charts. Guys, we gotta stop doing this. Anyway, I already didn't like it, but Richmond North of Richmond made me realize, wow, I really do hate this. At least Richmond had, authenticity, some grounding in that man's personal life, an attempt at wordplay, versus Aldean, who made an overproduced piece of shit where he immediately promises to be as blunt and witless as possible.
Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store.
If you insist.
Cuss out a cop, spit in his face.
So this is a song about how you idiots in the cities are a bunch of thugs and criminals, and if you tried that in a small town, you'd get your ass kicked.
Cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't.
It's obviously a response to the BLM protests, and yeah, if you, a white guy, see a bunch of black protesters and fantasize about you and your buddies chasing them down the road and beating the shit out of them.
See how far you make it down the road.
I mean, there's a word for that.
Try that in a small town.
Also, I'm not the first person to point this out, but the smallest town I've ever lived in was riddled with drugs and crime. Like, that's not reality. Aldean lives in a fantasy world where cities are all Death Wish 3 and small towns are Mayberry. No, not even Mayberry. Andy Griffith didn't threaten to pistol whip anybody. Even if Aldean's small town was real, I wouldn't want to live there. Sounds way more dangerous, honestly. Sounds like there's a bunch of drunk, violent rednecks there. Anyway, Try That in a Small Town got criticized as basically a pro-lynching song. Aldean says that wasn't his intention at all. The fact that he filmed the video on the site of a historic lynching, he says he didn't know about that, he didn't intend that, which, fair, it is the South, probably easy to do that by accident.
This is a map of all the atrocities the Pawnee settlers inflicted upon the Wamapoke Indians. The atrocities are in blue.
But, then what were you trying to say, ma'am? I'm not saying anyone has to love riots or violence, but, why did you think that shit was happening? Why do you think people are spitting on cops? And, he did an interview recently, and I was expecting him to say, cops ain't racist, y'all leave them alone, or there's no excuse for riots. Which, is at least something we can argue about, but that's not what he's saying. He doesn't actually disagree with the reasons behind the protest, because he doesn't know those reasons even exist. As far as he knows, people are out in the streets entirely because they wanted to mug your grandma. This is his image of the protesters.
I love stealing, I love taking things.
And his brain just shuts down when you try to explain to him that they are protesting violence too. I honestly think he's never heard the words Black Lives Matter before in his life.
It's on, like, but there was people of all color doing stuff in the video. That's what I don't understand.
Okay, yes, but what were they protesting, Aldine? Name it. Like, it'd be one thing if this was just stupid, and he is quite stupid for the record. He goes into a whole thing ranting about gun control.
Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city.
I love cops, and you ain't taking my guns. Who do you think enforces gun laws, you fucking dumbass, a mailman? But it's not just that he's stupid on purpose. He doesn't want to know why the city's at protest. He doesn't want to know why small southern towns don't look like safety if you're a certain skin color. This is not just a racist song, it's a song about the right to be a fucking moron. You're not a defender of decency, you're a fucking thug. Threaten minorities. Try that shit in the city, shit kicker. And before we get to number one, I don't really have many honorable mentions this year, but here are a couple.
All my life, they be trying to keep me down.
Children's choir, come on, man. No one wanted this. This is only not on the list because I like Cole's verse too much. Say thank you to J. Cole, Dirk.
These days, seeing rappers be dying way before they even getting they shine. I never even heard of Lil Buddy, till somebody murder Lil Buddy. Now I'm on the phone searching Lil Buddy name. Got a
man after my own heart. R.I.P. Lil Buddy.
Calm down, calm down.
I feel bad that the biggest Afrobeats hit is my least favorite, but I don't know. I just thought the hook was annoying. And also, I'm just never gonna enjoy the sound of Selena Gomez's singing.
Dance with me and take the lead now.
I guess the publicity of Selena made the song bigger, but you shouldn't need a guest singer. This isn't like Justin Bieber on Despacito. Like, these songs are already in English.
Peaches, 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 peaches.
My God, you people are easy. Jack Black has been doing this shtick since the 90s. It hasn't been funny in years. Then again, neither is mine. Sucks.
Drinking watermelon moonshine.
Hey, this is a country song about losing your virginity named after a fruit-based alcohol. You non-country fans might not know this, but there was already one of those.
Strawberry wine, 17.
It's one of the most beloved country songs of the last 30 years. So, yeah, David Guetta isn't the only one making shameless rip-offs. I don't get this one at all. It's far too mid in tempo, in energy, to be as uplifting as it wants. You know, a lot of people hate Jack Antonoff as a producer, and I don't agree. And when haters describe what his music sounds like to them, this is what I imagine they're describing. Are you sure you guys are fighting the right enemy? All right, and finally, the end. Let's do this.
This is why I don't leave the house. You say
Number one. I really cannot justify not putting Try That in a Small Town at number one. It sucks, the song sucks, the guy sucks, it all sucks. Maybe I just feel like a weenie every time I knock down a song because it offends me politically. And maybe I just get a small guilty pleasure out of the dumb as fuck mullet guitar solo. Wow, wow, wow. But if I can defend myself here, I at least know who that song is for. I can imagine the guy who thinks that's the greatest song of all time. I wouldn't want to talk to him, but I understand who he is. Then there are the songs where I try to picture the person who thinks it's the greatest song ever, and I just cannot imagine who that person would be. Who could possibly love this song? Naturally, I am talking about the most popular song of the year.
Last night we let the liquor talk. I can't remember everything we said, but we said.
Morgan Wallen's Last Night was number one for a punishing 16 weeks, making it one of the most popular songs of all time by Billboard metrics. To be fair though, that's a very unadjusted for inflation measurement. You compare the hype for Old Town Road versus the thorough non-event of this song. Speaking as someone whose income kind of depends on the popularity of popular music, I resent this song for no other reason than because it proved how worthless a number one hit is these days. And yes, I know I said I didn't want to bash songs for political reasons, and I'm not. Believe it or not, this is not on here because of the whole drunkenly saying the N-word controversy. I was horribly disappointed by it, and I did a whole video about my feelings on it, but at this point, I'm a little inclined to defend him a tiny bit. Like, the entire country music industry put him on timeout because he's making everyone look bad, but, like, they're making him look bad too. He probably could have just apologized and moved on if there wasn't already a raging debate about Music Row's history of racial exclusion. And like, he didn't do that. He's not the reason black artists can't make $1 in Nashville. That's you! You motherfuckers in suits did that, you hypocrites! And I would see critics saying like, oh, if Wallen is so apologetic, why doesn't he put Black Lives Matter kiosks at his concerts or have a black opening act? Cringe. Cringe. Imagine having to be the token black person on Morgan Wallen's I Swear I'm Really Sorry tour. No one wants him to do anything except shut up and sing, an assignment that he has dutifully performed. So I swear this is not about him as a person, and I swear it's not just a hot take either. I do really think the biggest song of the year is The Worst. And by the end of the year, where it's still charting high 11 months later, it causes me physical pain.
But baby, something's telling me this ain't over yet.
Like, I'm no purist or anything, but yes, the blatant crossover selling out is part of it. I've heard Wallen's hits this year called Drake with a Twang. Like, if only. It's Maroon 5. If that's not your first comparison, you're doing it wrong. I got a comment that actually called it Saloon 5. Ha. It's even written by a guy who writes most of Maroon 5's hits. Of fucking course. Maroon 5 may have finally been banished from the charts, but they still find a way onto this list in spirit.
Last night I kissed your lips, make you grip the sheets with your fingertips.
What really makes it Maroon 5-esque is just the flavorlessness of it. It's kind of douchey, but not douchey enough to have a personality. It's kind of about sex, but not really sexy.
You call your mama, I call you bluff, and in the middle of the night, pull it right back up. Yeah.
It's nominally about a difficult relationship, but there's no emotional distress in it. It's kind of country, but not really. It's got hip-hop influence, but not really. It's TikTok music, but not in the way that makes it weird or interesting, just in the way that makes it have no parts or ideas past the first 5 seconds. It is just a loathsome, worthless song in every regard.
You told me that you wish I was somebody you never met.
In 2020, I was convinced that this guy was the most promising and exciting new star in any genre. But after 48 brutal weeks of this shit, I never want to see him or his mullet or whatever hair he's wearing now ever again. You should have to spend all of next year apologizing for this.
No way was I last night.
Right, yes. Anyway, that all sucked, but I think we can all agree that however bad those songs were, they won't cause you any actual physical harm. Well, most of them. If that's something you are interested in, though, have you ever heard of danger music? That's an entire genre of experimental live music where the point is to literally put you at risk of injury. If that sounds interesting to you, Volksgeist has a whole video about it, and you can check that out on Nebula, a creator-specific platform where you can watch great videos from other creators like HBomberGuy, Adam Neely, and myself. And right now, for a limited time, Nebula is selling lifetime memberships that will last for as long as you and Nebula both exist. These memberships cost $300. They last forever. No tricks, no gimmicks, just pay one time and get access to Nebula, again, forever. But of course, regular Nebula memberships are still available at $30 for a year, which equals out to $2.50 a month. And you'd also be directly supporting me, which, I'd appreciate it. So click the link in the description and check it out below. Thank you for listening, and good night.
Drinking dope turned me to a superhero, yeah. Hit that pill, turned me to a superhero, yeah. Roll my 90s, turned me to a superhero, yeah.